Hey guys, so posting this one to talk about psychic abilities and just go from there, and then whatever you guys are wanting to talk about, that's what we'll talk about. So, starting off, okay, so Vital Prana Tarot, before it was Vital Prana Tarot, was just Vital Prana. So, um, what's interesting about this is that, hey guys that are joining the channel, or the live stream thing, first time I've done this, but so like with these psychic abilities that we're going to be talking about, the important thing that you have to be aware of is to always have like your I guess clairsentience developed. Hey Tony, hope everything's going good. So where was I? So clairsentience is an ability to be able to feel kind of like information, to feel energy. And that's kind of where most people start to develop. You have people that are more clairvoyant, where they can see with their third eye. And generally when you see something, it's like a flash, it's like an image, right? It's like a, hey Nicole, it's like a, it's like a flash or an image. Sometimes it's a movie, depending on like what's going on. But for me, it's like a flash of an image. It lasts maybe an eighth of a second. But from that, if you're developing your clairsentience and you're developing your clairvoyance, you'll be able to get all the information you need just from one image. And then you can ask another question and get information that way. But it's a symbolic language, and that's how we communicate psychically with one another. And this also works with telepathy. This works with all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of like digging into, not digging, I shouldn't say it that way, but it's like going into an energy field of somebody and being able to pick up information, and then you're able to translate that information. It's all it is energy, and we're just channels for it. If that makes any sense, you guys, I hope that makes sense. But I'm trying to think. So, and then you can develop other abilities too. So you have clairsentience, which is clear feeling. It's like being able to feel with your aura. That's why meditation is important, because you want to be able to feel the energy you're getting. But you want to make sure that it's not your energy that you're picking up yourself. You want to make sure it's kind of like ambient energy, or if it's spirit guides, or if it's, you know, a friend or a loved one that has passed on. You got to be able to feel your own energy first to make sure what you're picking up is their energy, if that makes any sense. Okay, so then another important thing is the different clair abilities. You have clairsentience, which is clear seeing, or clear feeling, clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. Oh, you feel it during acupuncture? So what does it feel like for you when you're doing acupuncture, Nicole? I hope there isn't any lag. Well, hold on, I'll wait for you to respond here for just a second. Hold on. Such dreams. There's been a lot of energy today, and if you're angry or if you're feeling something like that, the important thing to do is to kind of, some people do deserve it, some people have it coming, but the important thing to do is to like integrate that within ourselves and find out why we're feeling that way, because a lot of times people are just like triggers for us to just kind of go off. And I've done it too, a lot. And it's just, hey Joy, how you doing? It's just one of those things that's like, we have to learn to self-integrate, and we have to integrate that energy. Once we do, our psychic abilities start to open up. And this sounds weird, but the more childlike that we get, the more the more energy we're going to be able to process and be able to feel in our field of vision. That's why children are so like connected, and literally they can see people as blue or green or orange or whatever, because they can see the auras around the person. And then adults will tell them, no, that's not true, stuff it down, hide it away. And then the whole thing with us now is that we're trying to get back to that childlike state, because in that state, that's where we're the most psychic. It's like like when you would play pretend or when you would do something like that, that's what we're trying to achieve, is that childlike state again. But I was talking about the clair abilities. Hold on. So you have clairgustance, which is clear tasting, and that one's only sometimes for me. That's very rare that I can actually taste something if someone's describing it. I've tasted metal one time, and that was that one was a little different. That was over someone who had committed suicide, and it was like how they died, and that one's kind of gruesome, you know, but you kind of taste what's going on with the energy of the person, and if that person's coming through and you ask how they died and you get that kind of taste or sensation, it's however they want to come across, like mediumship wise. And yeah, so and then clear smelling, I think if I can pronounce it right, it's either Claire Alliance or Claire something like that, and that's like clear smelling. And you develop these psychic abilities over time. And then you have clairaudience, which is clear hearing. And people are going to develop at their own rate, and with their own abilities. Usually it's clairsentience first for people, and then clairvoyance, or vice versa. But then once you've worked on one primary ability, which is the strongest one you have, then you can work on the lesser abilities to try and build them up into something stronger. Let's see. So then we go into an area where if you're doing mediumship, you get the question asked, how do I know that it's my energy or if it's someone else's energy that I'm picking up on? Or how do I know that the thought that I'm having is actually from the person that I'm trying to communicate with? How do I know that? So this is interesting here. So with ego, with the way we think, and with the way we think and with the way we try to rationalize, that's our mind more than anything. Because when I'm really into the flow of things and I'm going, generally the thoughts aren't mine and they're coming out so fast that I can't think them, and it's kind of hard to get to that place where you can connect like that. But once you do, the words you're saying, they're not really yours. It's kind of like something's borrowing your space for a minute. You're saying what's going on, and it's the way it is. And sometimes it's not as fast. Sometimes it's kind of like slower messaging. You can get spirits that, and this is interesting, okay? So you have mediums that believe in the other side, right? But there are people that have passed on that don't believe in mediums. So that's the interesting thing. The way that energy communicates is very interesting to a lot of the way everything is. I mean, if someone died and they didn't believe in mediums while they were alive, then it's going to be harder for them to pass along messages now. And we can get into time, the way time works and stuff like that, and that's just confusing. But basically, it's just energy, but some people don't know how to communicate in the energetic language even after they've passed on. Okay. Trying to think anything else. Does anyone have any questions or anything? Because if not, I can think of something else here. Okay. So then we can go into some of the tarot stuff that we've been doing on the channel. And tarot is an interesting way to develop psychic ability because you start off and you get these symbols, you get these images. This is the Wheel of Fortune card. But you get these images and they tell a story. And in a lot of ways, clairvoyantly, that's how we tell stories. Like when we're seeing something, that's kind of what the cards teach you to do. When I was doing my ayahuasca ceremony, which by the way is amazing, when I was doing that, I saw the sun card come up. I saw the strength card come up. I saw different ways of the way that the plant medicine was communicating with me, and it was through symbology more than anything else, because through symbols we can put everything into that. We can put as much data in a symbol as we can. And what I mean by that is that we can see it, we can feel it, we can, we're not going to misinterpret that. Once we've cleared our channel, we're not going to misinterpret a signal to mean something it doesn't. Whereas someone could talk to you and you could imply that they meant this or they meant that. Where it's symbolic, there's no chance of miscommunication. It's the true. I feel like it's the true language. Okay. And the ayahuasca thing, if you guys are wondering about that, maybe I can link that somewhere or show you the people that do it, because they're the nicest people, very kind people, and I really enjoyed the ayahuasca ceremony. It was something that I would definitely do again, but you do get really sick, so keep that in mind. I mean, it was bad. My palms, you know, like you're rocking back and forth because it makes you purge the energy that you're going through, and so you throw up or you have to take a shit. Ayahuasca, it's okay, I'll get to that. Let me answer this one first. So ayahuasca it's a plant-based medicine, and it's like a sacred medicine. It's referred to as the divine feminine sacred medicine, and it takes you into your heart space so that you can free yourself from like emotions that no longer serve you. If I didn't go into no, the abilities I have don't run in my family generationally. My dad is not psychic. My mom's not psychic. So for me, no. Other people, though, like stronger psychic abilities, tend to run in families, but not in mine. I just kind of learned as I went along, and anyone can learn to do this. But ayahuasca is just about this. It frees up your heart space. It frees up your heart so you can experience things in a better way. If I didn't take ayahuasca, I wouldn't have been able to be there for a friend during a very, very difficult time in her life, and it helped solidify a relationship even more so. So they're called the Arizona Yage Assembly, and I've got a video on my channel about it that you can look at, and I think I have the link there that you can see too. And these guys are nice. They're in the U.S. I think they do a little bit abroad. I'm not sure. But once a year, they even take you out to the Amazon rainforest once a year if that's something you want to do, and you actually get to have the full shamanic experience. When you go to a ceremony with these guys now, it's like they refer to themselves as facilitators, and a guy named Scott runs the thing, and very nice people. I mean, kind to the point that it's crazy. I felt like I could really let go and release emotions, and trust me, there was a lot of emotions. It was something that was crazy. It's not a forced panic attack. It's okay, how would I describe it? So we have what's called the when we're on ayahuasca, as soon as we go into that, they call it the gatekeeper, and the first gatekeeper we have is it's the mind. Okay, the mind chatters and it tells us what the experience is going to be like, and it keeps telling us what it's going to be like over and over again, and we're just sitting there and we're like, okay, well, if I'm on ayahuasca, I'm going to see this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to whatever, because we've had TV experiences, or we've had other influences and biases come into our frame of reference, and so we're trying to guide the experience through a keyhole of what it needs to be, when what it actually is trying to do is it's going into you and it's opening you up the way you need to open up. It's very rare when you're on ayahuasca that you actually see things. If you close your eyes, your clairvoyance kind of goes through the roof a little bit, but when your eyes are open, you're not seeing anything. It's not like mushrooms or LSD or anything like that. It's very contained with how you're seeing things. That being said, the anxiety that you feel is your emotions loosening up. It's letting go, but it's severe. I mean, it can be. You've got to go into it with respect for the medicine, and don't think it's going to be something that it's not. Like it's going to be fun, and you're going to be tripping balls, and it's going to be great and stuff like that. Because what it does is it teaches you in a way where it's like, I want to say it's like Mother Earth is holding your hand and it's guiding you towards what you need to know. And it's doing it in a way that's gentle yet forceful. And for me, I experienced love in a way I've never felt before. from the earth, and that's I don't know, that was crazy. So the other question we had was jumping timelines. Oh, and by the way, the ayahuasca stuff, you're not going to be able to get that from like any black market vendor or anything like that. Um, it's not like LSD or mushrooms or something where you can just find it. This takes time to make. It's a full process for the people to actually make it. It's a day just sitting over a pot, a full day over a hot pot, just stirring constantly to make this medicine, and it tastes horrible. I mean, it tastes like, oh, I said it tastes like you're licking a Hershey Kisses butthole, and it does. I mean, it's like, it's bad. It's awful. But luckily, they have something to chase it down with. They give you like an orange slice after, but then you're sitting there and you wait for it to kick in. For me, it felt like a sleeping pill at first, like a really strong sleeping pill. And then, ayahuasca would, they would have no idea that they're, I like that. We should put it in their coffee. I think it would work. They'd be tripping. They'd be having a hard time with it. But the interesting thing is, though, when I started experiencing it the most, like when I started feeling the ayahuasca the most, and I was like, because I went up and I did a second shot of it. You can, when you do the ceremony, you can go up as many times as you want and get the ayahuasca and then take it. So there were some people that went up there, 3 or 4 times, and they were doing it constantly. And I couldn't do that. I knew my limit. And it was funny because in my mind, when I was there, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go up there 4 or 5 times, and I'm just going to keep taking it. And a huge part of me stopped and said, no. And the first time, I felt a little anxious, but I felt like I was going to throw up. And I was struggling with that feeling of like really bad nausea for I don't know how long. And I'm just like rocking back and forth. My palms are sweaty, like really sweaty, and I'm just like having a hard time. And I'm focusing on like different emotions that I'm having. And you go from, I never felt anger. I felt unconditional love. And I feel like for the first time in my adult life as a man, I felt unconditional love. Because I don't feel like I got that from my parents. Not that they're not great, but I just never felt like I got that, and this was something that was beyond anything I've ever felt. But then after, I started feeling the kind of, there was some sadness, some anxiety, some fear, and then after that kind of passed, I went up and you take, ayahuasca, that's how you pronounce it, Tabrina? I'm not sure how you say your name, but yep, that's it. And it's crazy effective. Like I said, and I'm kind of jumping around, you guys. I'm sorry I'm jumping around here, but I'm trying to think of thumbs up to you as well. Help masculine. Okay, so masculine open up their heart chakra would be, so you have the divine feminine, which is the ayahuasca, and then you have plant medicine, the divine feminine plant medicine, which is ayahuasca, and then you have the divine masculine plant medicine, which is peyote. And I haven't done peyote yet, but that would open up a male's perspective a lot more too. But you have to be in the right mental space to do it. For instance, when I did LSD, the first time that I did that, I was fighting it at first really strong. I did it for spiritual reasons, not to just be like, ooh, I'm tripping balls, blah, blah. I did it because I wanted to figure out what reality was like on a mind-altering substance. And since then, I haven't done it again. I did that in March, I think, and I haven't had the desire or the want to do it again because it's such a strong, it's so strong that it I don't know, I couldn't do it regularly. So like, how would I say this? Anyone can open up their heart chakra if that's kind of the direction they want to go in. If someone's taking these as like recreational drugs, then more than likely they're just going to have like fun experiences or whatever. But I would say ayahuasca is the best for me. I've tried mushrooms, I've tried ayahuasca, and I've tried LSD or acid, and okay, that's not what happened to me, but I think I took a pretty light dose compared to what other people take. That is interesting. I'm trying to think though. But if you do any of this for spiritual reasons, it can actually help your psychic abilities grow immensely because you're experiencing something outside of yourself. I had, when I was on LSD, I had what was called a euphoric experience, and it doesn't happen for everybody, but it was like, I couldn't stop laughing, but at first I was fighting it, and it was scary, but then once I let go and let it do its thing, then I couldn't stop laughing, I was really giggly. I couldn't get out of the bathtub for a really long time. I mean, that was weird. Like, it was a weird experience, but, and then I had a moment where I was sitting and I felt like I could experience infinity, which is something that nothing else has been able to do that for me, but because I had that experience, it made me kind of relate to life more in a way where I can understand things better. Because when you're always operating from a fixed perspective, it's kind of hard to do anything else. The masculine energy, though, for it to open up and for it to want to open up, and that's where a lot of psychic ability comes from, because we have... Yeah, it's interesting. You stay in one room, you just plant yourself right there, and you don't want to move. I mean, it's such a weird... it's weird. But like, what's interesting is, so we have the divine masculine, divine feminine, right? And she's talking about the heart chakra. So you have the third eye, or you have the crown chakra here, third eye, throat, and then the heart is right here. And then there's 3 chakras below the heart. You have the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root. And what's interesting is that both sides, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, kind of take on opposing roles. The divine feminine is like a waiting kind of energy. It's like a receiving kind of, or it's a giving kind of energy. And the divine masculine is a taking kind of energy. So the divine masculine is about taking action and just going for it, but in a positive way and like a nurturing way. And the same goes with the divine feminine. What we have in our society now is where a woman, in a lot of ways, is like a doormat for the man, and the man can do whatever he wants, and that's not right. That's not divine masculine or divine feminine. That's not having boundaries, and that's just letting that happen. But again, you have to want to change. If you have someone who says that they want to change and they're not changing, then there's your answer. If you have someone that is actively trying to improve themselves, I would say stay with that person, because they're going to be a good influence for you. In a relationship, we're always growing, and we're always trying to, in some way, we're like challenging each other to keep up. And sometimes the reason why relationships don't work is because the other person stopped trying to keep up, and we have like a break-off point, I feel. Okay, so with that, let's talk a little bit about psychic ability again here. So I took the ayahuasca to be able to experience things more psychically, to untangle what was in my heart, to open up my heart space, because this is where all the energy comes from, is right here. Our mind's right here. We when we think, it's a much, like the electromagnetic waves that happen when we think are so minute compared to this. Our heart is 100,000 times stronger when producing an electromagnetic field than our minds are, but yet we're always up here. We're always thinking here. When we're thinking in the heart space, we're thinking in a place of unconditional love, and we're trying to just understand things. We're not trying to limit a situation to benefit us. We're trying to understand a situation to gain a perspective rather than to try and control it. And so, yeah. And psychic ability, the reason why I said in the very beginning I was talking about like being a child. Um, the reason why is because with children they have an imagination. They have this active imagination and they can play and they can do that. And with us, it's the same thing. We have an imagination. It's been bogged down by society because of school or because of work or because of whatever. But once we start getting that imagination back, our energy body actually becomes stronger because our energy body is the imagination. The reason why people say, okay, visualize your heart chakra or visualize this or visualize that is because the imagination directly links to the energy bodies. That's just how it is. And that's why being able to visualize is important. If you can't visualize, though, you can try and feel, you can try to, do different things, and you can just try to work on the visualizing. But that's what gives us our psychic abilities. For me, I started with remote viewing, which is like, a lot of people say it's not psychic at all. It's just being able to take your consciousness and move it around, but I disagree with that. But it's the same thing. If you look into remote viewing, you try and take your consciousness out of you and you put it into a different location and you're able to pick up impressions. So you're able to say, okay, I feel hot. That's clairsentience, that's clear feeling. You're able to say, I can see what looks like water. I can see a lot of sunshine. I can hear the sound of the ocean. I can, do all that. That's basically all of your psychic senses. That's enhancing them all at once if you look into remote viewing. And it's interesting because a lot of people give up on remote viewing when they start because they don't think it's working. For me, it literally took... I've got pages and pages I was just doing constantly, and I was spending 15 minutes trying to get all the impressions I could over and over again. And the first, 7 or 8 tries, I could barely get anything. And then consistently after that, the more I practiced, the more I was able to get. You can't give up on this. It's like working out. I mean, you don't lift a 25-pound weight one time and be like, okay, I'm buff now. That just doesn't work. It's not the way it is. Psychic ability is the same thing. It's an atrophied muscle that's inside of us, and we need to develop it like that. We need to start out small. If they're psychic, they can feel if they're being remotely viewed to an extent. Most people, though, probably won't have any idea that they're being remotely viewed. That being said, that goes into some karmic lessons, too, where, like, why are you remotely viewing them? Is it to be... And I'm not saying you personally, Joy, I'm just saying, what are you trying to gain from viewing them? If you're being perverted or you're being weird with it, or you're trying to just, creep up on them, that's not good. However, instances where it would be okay is if there's a child, if you're helping people look for a child, if you're helping someone look for a lost person, or you're trying to check in on your family. That's okay. I honestly don't see anything wrong with that. But a lot of these abilities they've been developed a certain way, and we're just needing to go in and kind of find them again. And a lot of them have different names for like the same thing, but it's like astral projection is getting out and being able to explore in a more full body way, in a more, full energy sensation kind of way. Whereas remote viewing is just taking your consciousness and shifting it slightly and doing that. And we can do that because consciousness is everything. Energy is everything. We're all connected. That's the way psychic ability works. I wouldn't be able to pick up messages for you guys if I wasn't able to tap into that field. That field does exist. It's not an imaginary thing. It's just you have to tune yourself to believe in that. And it's interesting that you have to do that. I don't think in the future it'll be so much believing as there will be proof, but for now people have to kind of be wowed into it. They have to be... they just have to be that person that says, I don't believe in it, and then something happens, and then they can disbelieve that. I've had people I've done readings for, and I pinpointed everything that I possibly could in the reading, and they still didn't believe, or they thought that I looked at their social profiles and found things out, or they thought that I did blah 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 and I found things out that way, and I didn't. But people like to do that because it protects them from having to believe in something like this. And I don't know why they need protecting, other than, you know, just trying to protect the lie that their lives were built on in a way. It's just sad because these abilities are not only everyone has them, but they're easy to access. I mean, it's not impossible, and you can have, you know, you can develop in any way you want. You want to be able to diagnose people that are sick. You can learn body scanning, and you can literally know what's going on in their body. And you can say, okay, you need calcium, you have cancer in your pancreas, you have blah, blah, blah. And you can learn that kind of stuff. But just the way it is now, it's people need all the proof in the world, and I was there too. So with the pendulum, you can connect with anything. I mean, and don't be scared by this answer, you guys, because I'm not meaning it to be scary. It's like a Ouija board in some way, and I don't do anything with that. But the spirits that you invite in will be there, and they can guide the pendulum. But the reason why, when we're doing spiritual work, it's important to set intention is because you're basically saying whatever your words are. It's like a spell. That's why we call it spelling. Okay, we're casting a spell. So whatever you're thinking in your mind, whatever you're trying to do, that's what we need to focus on. So if you're saying to yourself, I only want positive, high vibrational energies to come through me and to speak with me and give me guidance, that's what you're going to get. But if you're in a very negative mind frame, if you're very like hurt and you're wanting to hurt somebody, or you're wanting to do that, and you go into that pendulum state, then you're going to get bad energy coming back from that. But you can connect with anything. Anything that, you know, is there and able to help you. It can be your higher self, definitely, but it can also be spirit guides. It can be whatever it needs to be. And the interesting thing is, because people ask about spirit guides, and I've actually had this. So sage it. Yeah, if you want to sage before you do it, I have a sage incense I have on right now, just because I think that's something good to do. It helps get rid of that negative energy. And tuning forks are good too. Hold on, let me take a drink here. But it's however you guys want to connect. Whatever you want to connect with. You can connect with quantum versions of yourself. You can connect with anything. Moonshine. You mean spirits. Like booze? Just the word moonshine. I'm confused by that. What was I saying? So, depending on how you guys want to develop, you can develop that way, if that's something you want to do. If you want to develop... Oh, this. Yeah, it kind of does. No, it's just water. Yeah, it's just water that I'm drinking. Trying to think. So, now, with a lot of you guys, I feel like that we're focusing on, because the last readings that I did, I got a lot of views with those, the Will They Come Back readings. And I feel like a lot of people right now are going through like narcissistic kind of relationships, and I've done some sessions with you guys, and what I've noticed is kind of a primary theme is that you guys are like the caregivers. You guys are like the emotional, you're like the energy for these people. You're like the battery for these people, and they just keep taking your energy. And what's interesting with that is until you learn how to build up your energy body, which is absolutely real, again, until you learn to build that up, you're always going to be giving energy where you don't want to. Imagine, you know, imagine being a battery and you have holes or something, you know, like you're just leaking energy everywhere, and people are just able to latch themselves onto that, and the energies that you're leaking, they're going to be insecurities, they're going to be things that you're not comfortable with, and the narcissist can come right in, attach themselves to that, and they know what they need to do to get that energy from you. Which is interesting, and that in itself blocks a lot of psychic ability, because we put ourselves in this mentality of we deserve this kind of communication, and we don't. But the way that we work on that, the way that we build that up, is to build up the energy body, and the way we build the energy body up is to do simple exercises. Like there's a meditation that can be done, and again, the reason why we meditate, it's like working out, but it's for the spiritual part. It's for that you have to know yourself to know someone else. It's just the way it is. You can't, and I can't emphasize this enough. You cannot help somebody with energy work if you yourself have not gone through certain work. That doesn't mean you have to have lost someone close to you to help someone else that has lost someone close to them. But what it means is that you have to be emotionally open and receptive to the messages that are coming through. A lot of times, no matter what I'm doing, if it's energy work or if it's psychic work, like energy healing, psychic work, mediumship, whatever, I get messages that come through that are not from me. And that just happens. And when that happens, it's nice. It's like you feel something has your back, and there's something there giving you communication. Because there's a lot of things that I know that I don't know, if that makes any sense. It's not me speaking, it's the energy, it's the channel speaking. And then being humble is important too. And that one kicked my ass over and over again. And I still have moments where I get arrogant with this. But you have to be humble, and you have to realize that you're not doing this work. You're having the work done through you, but you're not doing it. You're just kind of a channel for it. So the energy exercises are simple. Okay, so I'm going to stand up here. Let me see if I can go back here a little bit. Alright, so if I stand up here like this, where we start with the energy is we're going to be meditating, we're going to be sitting down, but I'm just going to show you standing up. The only thing you do is you take your two fingers like this, okay, and we're going with the sense of touch. If you can do this without a shirt on, or if you can do this however helps you, just to feel non-constrictive with your clothing, non-restrictive, you know. So we take our two fingers right here, and at first we're going to go like right here, right by the belly button, about 2 inches below. And this is one of the Dantian centers in the body. And so this is where we're going to start building up energy. The only thing you have to do in this meditation, the only thing, you don't have to focus on breathing, you don't have to clear your mind as much, but the only thing you're going to focus on is your sense of touch. These two fingers right here, your sense of touch right here. And every time your mind wanders from that sense of touch, every time you wander from feeling this right here, you just bring yourself back. You don't beat yourself up for having your mind wander off. You just say, okay, I'm going to bring myself back. I'm going to focus on the sense of touch. That's the main thing we do. It's a Dantian point. This is where we start to build up energy to better our lives. This is where we start to build up our battery power. So that if someone does try to come and take it, they can take as much as they want. It doesn't matter. We're producing our own energy. We're not borrowing it from other people, which means we're not seeking validation from other people, which means that we're starting to feel strong and secure in our own bodies, okay? So you'll do this 10 minutes right here. You're in a quiet space, you focus 10 minutes right there, about 2 inches below the belly button, okay? Then after that, we move up to right here, the heart, okay? And we focus, again, 10 minutes here. Just the sense of touch. You don't have to worry about the breathing. You don't have to worry about anything else. This is just the sense of touch right here. 10 minutes. If your mind wanders from that feeling of a sense of touch, then you just bring it right back. The reason why we focus on the sense of touch is because wherever attention goes, energy flows. And so we put our fingers here, we're building up energy. It's not going to feel like it at first. It's going to feel kind of strange at first, but we're building up energy, and that's the main thing that we're trying to do. Then when we focus up here, again, we're taking the energy that was here and we're building it up even more. And then we're going to take this, we're going to go right here, third eye. Okay? This is the psychic center. When you start focusing here, you may see things a little bit more, but you're going to focus there too. And what this does is it's going to ground and stabilize our energy bodies, but it's also going to build them up. Okay, so from there, then we can start to be able to get rid of the things that no longer serve us in our life and not feel guilty about getting rid of those things. Because with a narcissist, what they can do in a relationship is they can come in, whatever your biggest insecurity is, they know it. And the reason why is because you're not able to hide your feelings. You're an empath. You're someone that is just expressive, and the narcissist isn't. And the narcissist will not be. Growing up, the narcissist has two choices that they need to make. And unless they're working on it, then they've already made their choice, okay? And the two choices are, I'm going to be like a narcissist, or I'm not going to be like a narcissist. I'm going to be like my parent, or I'm not going to be like that. A lot of us have hard lives, but it's interesting that a lot of us don't grow up cynical, hard, and bitter to the point where we literally cannot feel the emotion of the other person. Instead, what we do is we feed off of it, but we don't give anything back. An actual relationship that's non-narcissistic is two people mutually benefiting off of each other and learning to grow and to proceed in life in a direction that makes sense. In a narcissistic relationship, someone's always giving, someone's always taking, that's it. That's the end of it. And that will not work. And we stay in these relationships sometimes for years. And it can be a parental relationship, it can be an intimate relationship, it can be whatever kind of relationship you can imagine. But when the time comes, when you start to separate yourself from these people, and you start to feel, and you start to feel yourself distancing from them, it's amazing. Your energy starts to come back even more, okay? It starts to come back. And what happens, sorry guys, okay. What happens is that the energy cords that we've made with these people, they go away. And they're etheric cords. Whenever we're really close to someone, we create a cord from them to you, okay? And it can even be objects as well. It can be anything. And we create a cord to it. And what happens is that those can become addictions. Those can become people. Those can become these things in our lives that are negative. Some of the cords are very positive because there's a mutual exchange of energy. There's a flow. There's an ebb and there's a flow to it. But when there isn't, it causes stagnation. It causes problems. It causes obsession. It causes all of these different things to happen. So when you start to build up the energy body, you no longer crave that validation because you are the validation for yourself. And it sounds weird, but all of this relates to psychology. Exactly. Yes. Positive people start showing up. And not only that, you're just gonna feel better. And when you start feeling better, then even more positive people show up. It's truly incredible how this starts happening. For me, when I was really closed off and I was going through my thing, I got into like deep depression. I got into all these different states of mind. And once I started realizing that I can change the way I am and I can change the way I feel, even though there are some narcissistic elements in my family and there are things like that, you can start to cut yourself off from needing the validation from that because you're not going to get it. And I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that. We're not going to get that validation that we're seeking if we've been seeking it, especially for a long time. It's like dangling a carrot in front of somebody, and as soon as they start getting close to it, they yank it away, and they know how to do that. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to start getting better, and you'll start getting better. But then there's something that happens that's going to kind of test you guys, and you're going to have the person in like a frenzy, like a wild animal state. And this is kind of hard to see, but you'll see their true colors start to develop. And this is scary, but it's a necessary step in healing and recovering. So what's going to happen is you're going to pull away. You're the battery source for this narcissist, right? You're pulling away, and then they're going to start lashing out. And what's interesting is that at first they're going to lash out. It's going to be very toxic, and it's going to be very openly toxic. It's going to be like, okay, well, I can see what you're doing now. I can see what's going on. And then, over time, because you're going to be pulling more and more away, and they know that you can see it, they're going to be what's called covert narcissists. And that's going to be where they're going to try and manipulate you in a way that doesn't seem like manipulation, because it's the end game. It's the last thing that they have. And so they're going to really bring out all the stops. And when a narcissist is really bringing out all the stops, that's when it can get kind of dangerous. And that's when it can get really hard to leave a situation, because they'll say things like, oh, you never loved me, or oh, you never did this, or oh, you're the reason for my addiction, or oh, you're the reason that I'm this way, or whatever. And they're going to do that. They're going to blame shift, and they're going to say, you're the reason for blah, blah, blah. And that's when you know that they're starting to get into that spiral. Okay, once you get out of that, Joy, I have a feeling, I'm hoping you can get through that and be okay. What's going to happen though is this, okay, and just hear me out. is that you're going to go through the narcissistic, withdrawal, and then what's going to happen is you're going to be going through another set of situations where you're going to be doing your own thing. You're going to be living your own life, and you're going to have possibly what's called a flying monkey. In narcissistic terms, a flying monkey is a friend of the narcissist or a family member of the narcissist or something, and the narcissist is going to reach out to that person, to reach out to you, to try and get you to come back. And that's when it gets kind of scary, because you can literally see this person has pull over other people to try and get you back in their life. And these people are going to try and pry, they're going to try and do that, because as soon as you cut off contact, the narcissist is going to start trying other tricks. So they're called flying monkeys. Be on the lookout for that. That won't happen with all of you guys, but when you start getting out of a narcissistic relationship that's been going on for a long time, you're taking away the energy supply. Okay, yeah, so you're going through this right now, so that's what's happening. So the important thing is that you're close to finishing, you're close to absolving or dissolving the etheric connection, the cord that you've had with this person. It's starting to dissolve. And once it starts to dissolve fully, they're going to start backing off more and more, but they will go through a phase where it's too much. If you guys get out of a relationship and you can, yeah, it's crazy. There's so many narcissistic people out there. It's nuts. And when you start to distance yourself, you guys are going to become stronger. And what's interesting is it's same person. Okay. So that's not good. If you're dealing with the same person, they're not going to change. And you're going to feel, and I'm going to say this right now, you guys, this is the hardest thing for empaths to get over, is that you will feel like you can do something to help this person. And that's the reason why you don't want to leave, is because sometimes they do make you laugh, sometimes blah, blah, blah. You want to help this person because you feel like they've helped you. And while it's true that while you were growing, they did help you, the thing is you're trying to return the favor and help them, and they're saying, fuck you. So you can't help them anymore. You can't be there for them anymore. And that's the reason why you have to go. This person doesn't want help. This person doesn't want anything like that. In a relationship, it's always growing. It's always evolving. If they're not doing that, they're not for you, and you need to get out. It's better to be in a narcissistic relationship for 6 months than to be in a narcissistic relationship for 6 years. Hold on. It's too little too late, yeah. See, and they'll do that, and they'll say, see, I've changed, and then over weeks, it'll come back. Their behavior will come back. Okay, so and it's interesting because you have narcissists that are mean, and then you have narcissists that are so manipulative and so like sad and so whatever that they can just manipulate you into doing whatever they want. But at some point you have to leave and realize you are not responsible for this person, because you're not. You're responsible for you and your happiness. And I'll ask you this, are you happy? Do you feel happy when you're around this person? Yes, passive-aggressive is the worst. That's because when the passive-aggressive thing, when you try to call them out on it, they make you seem like you're crazy. And that's the thing that's called gaslighting. That's making you question your own sanity. But they know exactly what they're doing. They're making you feel like, oh no, I didn't say that. Or I said that, but I meant it jokingly. And it's like, you didn't though. You said it and you intended to hurt me with what you said. You know, you said it with a smile. You said it with whatever. So don't tell me that that's what's going on. But all of this is psychology. And when you start breaking away from the narcissist, when you start breaking away from that, you guys will feel better. Again, it's better to get out now than to put another 10 years into a relationship that will not go anywhere. Because they know how they can treat you, and they're not going to change how they're treating you. They just aren't. And that's great if they're cleaning the house or they're doing whatever, but it is too little too late. It's not anything that'll last, because as soon as you get complacent again, they'll treat you like shit again. And then it'll keep getting worse and worse in the cycle, and it can even become violent eventually if the narcissist is bad enough. not just with emotional abuse, but with yeah, it is. It's a crazy mind fuck. It really is. Okay, well then, if there's any way for you to get out of this, which I'm hoping you are, Jessica, because that's not good. Okay, that's good. He went to jail, because that's not cool. I don't like that at all. It's scary how people can be, and we get into these relationships because, again, the empath, in some way, it usually always is a narcissist and an empath. You never usually get two narcissists that are in a relationship together, or sometimes you do, because it can last because they're both just kind of evil people. But they just take the empath for a ride, and then when you guys start running out of energy, they're going to move on to something else, and always abuse, but then always take you back. Always, what was it? I'm trying to think of an example. But you don't do anything wrong, and then they'll come up to you and they'll say, "It's okay, I know you're sorry," or "It's okay, I know this or this," and they put words in your mouth. And again, it's all about trying to make you crazy. Look into psychology on this, because you guys aren't crazy. Yeah, an unbalanced Scorpio will do that, and they're also very secretive, and they're just an unbalanced sign of any kind, a narcissistic sign of any kind is just bad, because the levels of abuse, not, oh, okay. So, Libras are always seeking balance, so I imagine you're trying to balance the relationship in some way, or you were trying to, and it wasn't working. No, it's not okay. Hopefully you're out of that situation then, or hopefully you can get yourself out of that, because this is something that needs to happen for you guys to grow. Yeah, if you guys can help each other, go for it. I don't think so inherently. I think any sign is just, they can be good or bad, just like anything else. Just like any human can be good or bad, signs are the same way. It's just when there's an unbalanced energy in the sign, that's what creates yeah, there you go. What Joyce says, there's a shadow side to all signs. And trying to think. I mean, you can look into it, and there's a shadow sign to everything, a shadow side to everything. But ultimately, it's to have us learn to know what we don't want in our lives so that we can get what we do want in our lives. We just have to be brave enough to step out of the situations that we're in and realize that we don't have to be unhappy. This other person that's making us miserable, I mean, whatever you can do to distance yourself, even though I know it's a tough situation for a lot of you, because there can be kids, or there can be any number of factors going on. It's not an easy thing to sometimes break with these people, but it has to be done because they're not going to learn. I mean, you have a better chance of being struck by lightning a few times in the same day than for a narcissist to wake up and look at all the behavior. One, because, hi Ruby. One reason is because a narcissist, when they're coming out of the narcissistic mind frame, which is incredibly rare for it to happen, but when they do that, they have to realize all the things. And let me see that again. How do I... Sorry, I'm just going to read this again. Yeah, the psychic abilities did strengthen, and Jessica, I'm glad that you're learning, and I'm glad that you're growing, because that's what this is about. It's painful, it's a painful way of growing, but it's growing, and I hope you're in a safe space. I really do. So the ayahuasca did help the psychic abilities, but it more just gave me peace of mind because I didn't know it at the time, but I had to go through an extremely difficult part of my life about 2 weeks after the ayahuasca that I did. And if I did not take the ayahuasca, I would not have been able to help my friend that needed me. Because before I did, and this was in July, before I did that, I felt so emotionally closed off in a lot of ways that I couldn't be there for people. And in just, what's it been, 4 months, 4.5 months, I feel like I'm a completely different person. And things in my life have been going crazy. Some good, some not. Yes, Jessica, strengthening your energy will definitely help with this. The reason why we put ourselves in these situations and we feel like we can... I resonate with my rising is Virgo and my sun is Taurus. So I'm Earth through and through. I have nothing but Earth energy and air energy. I have every air sign and every earth sign in my thing, but I don't think I have any fire, and I have just a teeny bit of water. But yeah, I feel like I resonate with the sun sign more, and very organized, well, to an extent. I'm still learning, so I'm not very organized. I try to be, but yeah. So Jessica, to answer your question, yeah, building up the energy body will help because the energy center that you're probably having trouble with is like the willpower energy center. Maybe it's hard for you to feel dedicated in a certain direction. I don't know if that's true, but generally it's something where the solar plexus, the willpower, the fire chakra is like blocked. And once we start building up energy into these different chakras, it goes everywhere, and we can start to develop in a way where we appreciate ourselves more, and we come to realize that we are literally a soul or a spirit or energy in a body, and not the other way around. Like this life is important, but this life is a playground for us to learn. It's not the end game by any means. But we can strengthen our resolve, and we can grow in strength, and we can learn how to better ourselves. And that's the important thing, is that we can always learn, we can always grow, and the lessons that we've had are not in vain. They're there to teach us. They can seem unbelievably harsh and cruel, but ultimately it's there to show us what we don't want so that we can get what we do want. Taurus South Node. See, and yeah, see, and that can happen too, where you can feel nauseous, and it'll happen where there's just this energy that you're giving away, obviously, and when you start to take that back, though, you'll start to take back the power. When you start to realize that, okay, I'm going to say this, and I don't want people to get upset with me because I want you to hear what I have to say before, you start saying something. What you have to do is eventually you have to get to a place where you forgive the narcissist, not, okay, seriously, not in a way where you talk to them ever again. That's not what I'm saying. But where you yourself say, you know what, I'm going to let go of this pain. I'm going to let go of this, and I'm going to learn to heal from it, and I'm going to deal with it, and I'm going to do that. A lot of you guys are not in that space yet. Do not talk to the narcissist. Do not try to reason with the narcissist. That's not what this is. This is you forgiving them so that you can move on in your life. It sounds kind of selfish, and you know what? It kind of is in a weird way, but you need to do it because you need to move on, and staying stuck on this person isn't going to help. And you're still giving them energy, if that makes any sense. Once we separate completely and we break that cycle, then we can start to heal and we can start to integrate the lessons. And it's interesting, you'll realize that it's not as hard as it was before because you've gotten rid of that. So again, I'll give you guys another exercise here that'll help. So I gave you the exercise where you're strengthening your energy body, right? So this is a different one. So once you've learned how to strengthen the energy body, you're going to be able to feel energy sensations. That's something that we're dealing with. Hold on a second. Yeah, if you don't forgive them, they'll still have power. And the eclipse has brought about a lot of energy. The what was it called? The Lion's Gate. Something opened with those eclipses in a huge way. So there's a lot of energy right now that's revealing like the shadow side, the dark side of humanity in a lot of ways. And you're going to see people going crazy. I mean, Trump is our president, so I don't need to say anything more there. But people are going to start waking up spiritually in a way where before it was like a gentle wake-up call. Now it's like a gong going off over their head while they're in a sound sleep. Or even a coma, and they're just waking up and they're scared. There's a lot of fear energy right now. But here's what you're going to do, okay? So we build up the energy body, and you're going to be able to start feeling things outside of your body, like your aura and the presence of anything you want to feel. But you're going to build up the energy. You're going to do the thing here, 10 minutes right here, just focusing on touch, here and here. Again, focusing on touch, and you're building up the energy, 10 minutes on each spot. No thinking. You don't have to focus on breathing. I mean, do breathe or you'll die, but other than that, you guys, okay? So what we're going to focus on, though, is we got etheric cords everywhere around us, connecting us to narcissists, connecting us to situations. These etheric cords are just connections stemming out, and they go to them, and they come back to us, and we either get like a buzz off of someone when we're connecting with them because there's a flow of energy, there's a flow of information, or we get the lack thereof. We get like this stagnant, sick feeling when we're around somebody. As an empath, your energy is literally going out and it's grabbing anything. It's grabbing anything it can and it's putting it into itself, and it's being like, I want to feel this, I want to feel this, I want to do this. That's why you have to build up your energy body, or else you're literally taking everyone's shit, you're putting it inside of yourself, and you're saying, okay, now I'm mentally disturbed because I feel this way, and this way, and this way, and this way. And it's because you're taking on the energy of so many people. And even if you don't have any bad relationships, you need to cleanse and clear your energy field, because you're going to take on other people's emotions and experience them for them. And that's not good for you guys. That's not healing. That's actually the opposite. You're taking your own mental state of sanity and you're saying, okay, well, I want to experience everything this person's going through and this person. So the end of the day, the middle of the day, the start of the day, however you want to do this, you're just going to stand or be sitting down, and you're going to focus on energy, like an energy cord, and it's coming from the earth into like your spine, at the bottom of your spine, it's connecting. Okay, and what this does is it's grounding you, and you're starting to feel the grounding energy of the earth. You're starting to feel that kind of density of the earth. And this is a good density. It's a good dense kind of energy. It helps you to feel balanced. So you bring that up, okay? You bring that up into the base of the spine. And then we focus on cutting the energy cords. And when we do that, you can do it, you can close your eyes and you can do little scissors here and you're cutting the cords. Or you can have a sword, you can do whatever you want that way. The imagination, the fun part of it is you can do it however you want. But when you're cutting the cords, you're going to keep cutting those cords, you're going to keep cutting the cords, and eventually you will start to feel better, because whatever the connection is with that person, you're cutting away the energy from it, and eventually it won't connect anymore. You'll have free reign over yourself, and you want to do that even if you're in good situations, because you don't want to take on other people's energy. Yeah. I think there was 2 of them in August. But it brought about a lot. It was basically, I'm having a hard time focusing. It was basically the Tower card if we're focusing on tarot. It was like the Tower card for everybody. And a lot of people, especially the more spiritual people, the people that are waking up more, yeah, that's what they're feeling. That's exactly what they're feeling right now, is the energy of the eclipse. But it's good because we can build again the things that didn't work. Like, give me a second here. Yeah, the Tower is a good card, but it brings about change, and it can be painful change. That's the only thing. Yeah, Death is really good too. Give me just a second, you guys. I'm trying to find the Tower card in my deck. Yeah, rebuild from ground zero. It's one of those things where the things in your life that no longer worked, they're gone. So you get to focus on the things that would make you happy, that could work. And it kind of, in a way, it's very, very liberating, because you're like, oh, I don't have to hold up this crumbling structure anymore. I can just let it fall and I can start again, with things that don't work. So it brings about, okay. So I want you to look at this, you guys, because a lot of decks have the same thing, and I learned this recently, and I thought it was interesting. So the Tower card here, in my deck and in a lot of decks, there's lightning that's striking. But in a lot of decks, you'll notice that the actual base of the tower is okay, but it's like the top parts that are getting, damaged the most. And so if you have a stable foundation, the tower card's not going to rock you too much. But if you have any impurities or anything that you need to get rid of, instinctively you need to get rid of them, but you're not, that's when the tower card comes in, and it's kind of like forcing you in a way to deal with your shit. And it's painful for a lot of people, because we've built our lives in a way that is maybe society's perception of how we should build our lives, or maybe, it can be in so many different ways, but yeah, it's not a bad card. Death isn't a bad card either. Death very rarely represents a physical death. It more just is like change. It's like a rebirth. In a lot of decks, I think the death card's actually represented by a phoenix. So, and I think that's true too. Do you guys have any questions? We've been talking for a while now. Is there any... Ouch. Is there any questions? Okay. Well, that being said, I've got a few of you guys interested. I'm trying to build up the channel to where we get a lot of interest, and then I can go into, would you guys want to see things, okay, be thinking, Jessica, would you guys want to be seeing things that are not tarot, that's about psychic ability, or, because I'm trying to think about how to develop the channel exactly, and tarot is awesome. I love the tarot, but it's not my passion. I eventually want to be able to teach people psychic abilities and to just understand things better. So, you guys seem to be interested in this. Talking about the narcissistic stuff, talking about all of that, because there's just a lot of empaths out there. Thank you, Jessica. I hope I have. Healing is an important topic in all forms. Thank you, Carlman Haynes. I appreciate that. Past life regression. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. I'm not somebody that's going to say that I know something that I don't. I do believe in past life regression, absolutely. Have I studied it extensively? No. Things that I have studied are astral projection, remote viewing, energy healing, a few different modalities of energy healing, mediumship, and things like that. I believe absolutely that it's there, and I believe that we have. Okay, you guys. I believe that we have past lives. I totally do. What's interesting is there's something called a samskara, and I've mentioned this in some of the sessions I've done with you guys, but a samskara is like, it's an old wound that happened many lifetimes ago usually, and it's just a concentration of old stagnant energy that's inside of your spirit body. And hey there, paranormal intermission, greetings to you from Utah. Okay. Well, okay. Start with chapter 1. I could do that. I could do talks and stuff like that. Eventually, that's what I want to do, is be talking to a group of people and not be so nervous that I'm having a hard time. You can deal with your shit all at once. It depends on what you came to this life to do. Some people really need to get shit in line, because supposedly, this is where things get kind of weird. So we're going into what's going to be called the Golden Age, supposedly. I say supposedly, I don't know for sure. All I know is that when I was younger, I had a teeny bit of psychic ability, and you know, that was cool and everything. But now the energy is so much more like thick and rich and stuff. It's easier to grab onto. I do think there's something going on in this world. 30 years ago, you couldn't have the things we have now psychically, and if you really look out there, you'll see some crazy stuff. But so the samskara is like old energy from an old soul. It could be you were raped in a past life, or you were beheaded, or you had all these different things happen. And what we do is we keep coming back in our lives until we can heal that original injury. And that doesn't mean that we're going to be beheaded over and over again or whatever, but it means that until we can learn to trust, maybe that's a really hard lesson for us to learn, is to trust in a situation, or to let something go that's no longer good for us, or self-expression, you know, things like that. Because you got to think of it like this. Let's go back to the, I was going to say the Blair Witch Trials. No, the Salem Witch Trials, okay? Let's go to the Salem Witch Trials and let's look at that. These people believed, and a lot of them were just healers. A lot of them were just healers, and they were these alternative people, and they were just trying to help people. But they got killed for their belief. So what happens with that is that I think that creates a samskara, this deep emotional wound. Okay, I agree with you on that. So they died because of their belief. So then you go into something where now you have to stand up for what you believe in. You won't be killed this time, but it's going to be scary for you to stand up. And you'll know that you're having a samskara issue, a really old spiritual wound. But it's past life energy, and it ends with, it does. Yeah, words consciousness on water crystals, absolutely. It has a huge benefit on this. And when we start to deal with our emotional wounds, it's going to be very, very difficult. In a lot of ways, that's what the Tower card represents, is these deep emotional wounds coming to the surface, and we can heal them. We can actually see them for what they are and heal them. When we were younger, we were blind to it, and now we can start to see them and heal them and grow because of that. There's a lot more information. Yeah, we are. We're based upon our thoughts. And our thoughts are like, it's like an energy superhighway, I guess you would call it. There's the, okay. Humans are connected by something, at least I believe in this, you guys. Don't take anything I say and just believe in it. No, question everything I say, please, for the love of God. I'm not into that. I'm not a patriarchal figure or whatever. Just question, always do your own research, always do that. From what I've heard and from what I've experienced, okay, that's how I'm going to start this. We live in what's like a morphogenic field. This morphogenic field has all life within it. And okay. Okay, what was I going to say? So our thoughts are like a superhighway of energy, and I've done some psychic stuff and been able to connect with people. And see, religion for people, I'll continue that in a second. Religion for people is interesting. I'm reading a book right now that talks about always questioning what you are learning so that you don't become too rigid in one way of thinking. That's a good way to do it too. I like that. So here's an interesting book, you guys. Let me do this for you. Okay. I have my setup on this. But here's a book right here. My Big Toe, Theory of Everything by Thomas Campbell. When I went to Ireland to teach a class, and it talks about this, okay? If I can get that lined up. Discovery and awakening and inner workings. And it just mentions how, in a lot of ways, belief systems can actually be very limiting to us as humans. Yeah, Tom's awesome. I got to meet him, and he gave me advice on how to speak to people. One of the nicest guys ever. Maybe in the future I could do an interview with him. I kind of doubt it, but I'll see what I can do for you guys. But such a nice person. And we were in Ireland, and if you guys know Tom Campbell, some of you do obviously, but we were in Ireland, and he took off he was just wearing like a onesie kind of thing, and it was red, and he looked like Santa Claus, and then he gave like an 8-hour talk like that. It was funny. It was like a skinny Santa Claus giving this talk on consciousness, and he's an interesting guy. Yeah, I do believe we project our own reality through the heart space, definitely. And then you can go off of that based off of timeline, off of possibilities of timelines and stuff. When I do... Alright, Joy. Run along, Joy. Thank you for being here. Love to you, too. Let's see. So always question your beliefs and never take anything someone says as truth unless you've experienced it yourself. Yeah, digital reality. And he talks about, I don't know, I liked the experiments he did with Robert Monroe. He was there and he did all these different things. And I'm trying to think. I'm starting to read his book now. I just really like it because it teaches you to challenge the belief systems. It teaches you to not just believe because someone said so, which is where a lot of us are. We're used to being spoon-fed beliefs, and we'll just look at someone who's in a high position in the government or otherwise and just say, "Yep, they're right." Like, we don't question it, and that's maddening to me now. I used to never really think about it, but so. And that's where it gets weird. I've done some of the psychic stuff, and I've been doing it, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know what it is exactly. To me, it's more important to experience it than it is to define it. You know, if that makes sense for you guys. Because there's a lot of debate on a bunch of different things, and as much fun as that is, I like talking about the experiences of what we're doing. It's the unknown excites us all. It does. And I'm not going to be someone that claims to know anything. I get communication from spirits, but it's never like, what's the afterlife like? And then I get a very detailed answer. It's kind of like a wispy thing. It's there, it's around us, but I don't know, honestly. And maybe someone does, and they can share that, but, yeah. Yeah. Okay. What was I going to say? So you guys would like, you were talking about ground zero and talking and doing that. So maybe I could go into, like the different kinds of psychic ability, the different ways you can develop as a psychic. One of them, you've got ground-based psychics and then you have light-based psychics. Would that be something you guys would be interested in learning? Because, I mean, there's different ways. Sure, okay. Okay. Yes, to learn others. Oh, to learn others. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so, let me think here. So, we've got these psychic abilities, and if it will protect me. It will, Jessica. knowledge or energy is always, it can be there to protect you. That's what this is about. Yeah, I agree with that. I haven't done a lot of stuff with the demons, or a little bit with jinns and stuff like that, but I kind of stay away from that until I know a little bit more about what I'm doing. I had some weird experiences, so I'm just trying to stay away from that for now, because I don't know what I'm doing and all that. Let me think here. So ground-based psychics are people that can do... Yeah, it is real and dangerous. I've heard that the entities you summon can be... they can be angry at the scent of your cologne or perfume that you're wearing, because it can be something that's offensive to them. I've heard a lot of stuff like that. You just have to be very careful, and you have to know what you're doing. And I definitely don't. I'm still learning in a lot of ways. Okay, so ground-based is like you have aerokinesis, like controlling the wind, controlling the weather, telekinesis, and stuff like that. Those are generally harder to pull off because it requires a more... It's kind of like a denser amount of energy, right? That's why it's called ground-based. It's because you're bringing energy up and you're moving objects. And that requires clearing the chakras out. That requires doing a lot of energy work on yourself, and then being able to move the targets usually. And then light-based is like what I'm doing, where it's like energy healing, mediumship, and like psychic work and stuff like that, where you can actually pick up information and details. And then from there you can develop in any way you want. But light-based is all about the clair abilities, which I mentioned very early on in the video. And ground-based is all about... It's like being able to feel, but being able to feel outside of yourself. So, like, that's kind of hard to explain. I've had a little bit of an experience with it, and it's... Ground-based isn't my forte, so I can't... I can move stuff a teeny bit, but it's not something I want to, like... Okay. Well, okay, then I'm glad I'm not doing that, because... okay. What have I moved? Okay, let me find it here. The thing I've moved is just this. This is going to sound weird, okay? So I put this like this, and there's no air flowing in here or anything. I make sure, and I wear a mask when I'm doing the thing so that my breath isn't moving it. And then I do, and this is just tin foil. And you just fold it up, and you make it so that it can stand on... I use a meat thermometer point thing, and then I put it on top of that. And then I center myself, and then I try and move it one way or the other. Some people can move bigger things, heavier things. I can't, and it's not necessarily a way I'd want to develop. Yeah, we're talking a little bit about telekinesis and aerokinesis and stuff, which is... and there's different ways to build up energy. I mean, this right here, ground-based stuff, is harder for me to... Ground-based psychic work, it's harder for me to do. Personally. Some of you guys would be phenomenal at it, no question. For me personally, it's a little bit harder. Okay, so you feel a lot of others' feelings. So that deals with the empathy part of it. That's more light-based psychic stuff. Some ground-based, though. But, so I've moved that, and then aerokinesis is where you can go out and you can move the wind. Yeah. It is. It absolutely is. The more people you have focusing on a target, the better results you're gonna get. It's just the way it is. Yep, it will stop when you get excited because you stop the energy flow. As soon as you start thinking, "Oh, I can do it," it stops. Because you have to maintain kind of a neutral expectation, like this. I'm waving at you guys. I'm not getting excited because my hand's moving. Okay, so that's how you have to be with an object. When it starts to move, you just have to be like, okay, well, that's like moving my finger. That's like moving my eyebrows. That's like moving whatever. That's just the way it is. And with aerokinesis, it's kind of the same thing. I feel like it's easier to kind of pick up the wind and to move it and to do that kind of thing. Hey Elena, how you doing? But for you guys that are wondering about aerokinesis, start in the daytime. Start when it's already kind of a windy day. You don't want to go out when it's just dead quiet and try to move something, because you're going to get disappointed. You have to build up with everything that you're doing. I tried to do that. It's dead quiet, right? And I tried to go out and move things, and I got disappointed because I couldn't move anything. And then I thought, well, okay, this isn't real. It doesn't work. It absolutely does, but just like lifting weights and building up muscle, it takes time. You have to do it in steps, and you don't want to go out there and try for 4 hours, not succeed, and then come back in, and then the next day try. You want to do it in steps. Maybe go out there and try for 5 or 10 minutes. Clear your energy, build up energy, and then just kind of do that. Yeah, I agree with that. All of this is God consciousness that we're dealing with, every bit of it. That's how we're able to affect it and move it, is because we're part of that system. And we're able to affect and move it the more we become in touch with ourselves, the more kind of abilities or powers we have in... right, he did say that. They're called, in the Hindu, they're called... what are they called? I can't remember what they're called. But basically what I'm talking about is supernormal abilities. They're called supernormal abilities because everyone has access to them, but very few people can use them because we're in a time frame now where it's like difficult. But it's the abilities to, like a lot of yogis have, being able to see out of the third eye. I mean, it goes from being able to see out of the third eye to being able to teleport, to being able to shrink yourself down in size, to be able to produce food out of nowhere, to be able to, like, all those things. They're supernormal abilities, and they start happening once we integrate certain parts of ourselves. We start to develop these abilities. Why can't I remember? Oh, Siddhis. Okay, Siddhis. And supernormal abilities, I think there's 23 of them, but usually someone has, right. It's all about faith in ourselves, absolutely. We believe in ourselves, we can do all that, and more. I mean, it's exactly, yeah, they're trying to stop us from using these abilities. And so what's interesting, though, is that as we're going on, like, it's important to eat better, it's important to be healthy and to check your water and to do all that, but as we start to develop more psychically, we can start to cancel the effects of some of these things that the government's putting in our food, not all of them. But it's just kind of the way it is. They're trying to keep us limited. Because as soon as you start developing psychically, and this is interesting, you will start developing psychically as soon as you are in a relaxed environment for a long amount of time, like a long amount of time, and you're not really worried about a lot of things, you'll start to just develop psychically naturally. And humans do that, but they want to keep us in a constant state of fear because that's distracting, and it makes it so that we can't develop these abilities because we're constantly thinking about a bombing, a mass shooting, whatever. It's just... There's my cat. Fear, yes, fear. Thinking of someone out of the blue, I'm trying to think how that relates to... sometimes that can be someone trying to reach out to you. Like their energy, like they're thinking of someone out of the blue, just out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden you'll get a call from them or an email. Or sometimes that could be a person thinking about you that you need to... Yeah. What's its name? Thinking of someone out of the blue. Not sure. Like when you're in a quiet space, you pick up... I was actually... Yeah, that's the amazing thing about telekinesis, is that it will help you feel better because you have power. You're realizing, okay, Fuck, I'm a strong person. Cause you're clear-headed. Yeah, and I'm trying to think. It just makes you feel like you're connected to everything. That's good that you love cats. Yeah, it is. Whatever. Okay, so particle entanglement, is it also called quantum entanglement? Like you bind two things together, and then no matter how far you separate them, when you touch one, the other one reacts with that. Is that quantum? Okay, all right, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, it's the same thing as that. Our DNA is focused off of like photon, or focused. Okay, our DNA is made up of basically light. If you think about it like that, like the photons that we get and the energy and stuff. And what's interesting is we're human beings, and I want Hue to be Hue, and then man, you know. So human beings, we're literally beings of color. And that's how it is. That's what we are. We're those things conceptualized into what we are now, and it's just dense energy. But we can learn to get these higher states of consciousness. I'm trying to think here. Thank you. Paranormal intermission. Let me think here. What else do we have? Okay, so... Steve. Okay, alright. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that, because calling you paranormal intermission doesn't really seem, hey, paranormal intermission. I wouldn't say that to you on the street. Easy to say. Yep, okay, Steve. Alright, I'll remember that. I can agree with that. I mean, messing with genders, messing with identity is definitely a way to separate. I mean, it goes beyond that too, because they're just labeling everything to the point where you're this or you're that, you're black or you're white, and you have to pick a side. And I feel like that's kind of okay. So, all right, I can go into like 1,000 directions from here, but. So right now on Earth, supposedly, again, question everything I'm saying, you guys, okay? But right now on Earth, there's duality, and that's what makes it so we grow. Hey, Chaos Candle. That's what makes it so we grow. When we have the duality, and we have two extremes, and we learn what we like and what we don't like. And from that, we grow. That's where we are now. We're in the third dimension, moving into we're moving into a different dimensional frequency. Once we've learned everything that we can from duality, then we're going to focus on a more singular perspective, and we're going to be what's called fourth density beings, and that's where psychic ability is really going to start taking off. Right now, that energy is trying to integrate itself in us, but it's very difficult because we're still very dense. Any negative emotions we have are going to block us from connecting to that. How to heal yourself physically. I like that, Chaos Candle. I like to heal myself physically. What are you struggling with, Rebecca? What's going on? Yep, it is. Pisces age is duality, and I think there's a bunch of different, I mean, I can go into a bunch of different topics here, but this basically, what we're going through here, this is kindergarten compared to what's actually out there. Joint hypermobility syndrome. I don't know what that means, but I can look it up and figure that out. Maybe one of you guys can help with that too. Joint hypermobility. I mean, yeah, okay. Is it in your elbow? Oh, all your joints dislocate? Like your... Is it in the elbow, the shoulder, or where is it at exactly? Oh, okay. Hard to walk. Oh. Oh, whole body. Okay, that's not good. I'm trying to think here. How to heal physically. Okay. Okay. To heal physically, we would have to address it from, I feel like it would have to be addressed from a physical or a spiritual perspective first. Unless there's any medicine you can take. That's where it gets kind of tricky. Yeah, there you go. Those are all good recommendations. I especially like exercise, but with an O instead of an E. I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, I can. Subliminal meditation can definitely work wonders with this. Thinking here, you guys. I'm wondering. Oh, hey. No, I'm still talking. Okay, well, I've been on here for an hour and a half, and I think what we'll do next time, instead of jumping from topic to topic, is we'll focus on one topic, and then we'll just jump from that one over and over again. Seriously, I get so distracted, you guys. But what we'll do is try and keep it on one topic, and then we can talk and discuss that. Yes, we do. We absolutely do. So that's something you need to work, that we all need to work on. Not just you guys, not just me. Everybody, we need to work on having faith. Well, thank you, Jessica. I'm trying to do the best I can. I have a hard time with groups of people usually, so I'm just trying to understand the energy here, and I like it. The energy here is very comforting. It's very, it's just very nice. And I don't know if after this is done, if it uploads to YouTube, or if it's just a live thing. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Alright. So, you guys, I think I am going to go, though. I haven't peed in a really long time. Thank you very much, Tink. I appreciate that. Yeah, I can do that. I can write things out, but seriously, though, I have to go. So, I will talk to you guys later, and I really appreciate you guys. And, yeah. Awesome. Okay, it is there to watch also. Sweet. All right. See you guys. See you, Rebecca. And thank you for saying that. All right. Toodles, dudes.